In fact, a lot of India actually is transported on three-wheelers. We call them auto rickshaws.
Yeah.
Did you travel on one?
No, I've seen one.
I'm
not sure if I feel safe in one.
So, give us some use cases on magnesium castings. Like, where exactly are they being used? Why are they coming up right now? Like, just an idea of where their applications are.
The obvious advantage is that
I see magnesium as maybe this new emerging metal, as aluminium was maybe a couple of decades back, right? So how exactly do I get a piece of the upswing? Like, knowing now that magnesium does have a market, what are the manufacturing processes being used?
For the magnesium industry, I think there's always a good time to get in, because I think now it's a good time because the market is growing, the demand.
This controls the questions that he was not told about.
That's a surprise. That was not.
Although the global magnesium casting market is gearing up for a revolution, there is one company that's already prepared. Bhagyanagar Magnesium has recently installed a 1650-ton die casting machine just for magnesium castings. We believe this to be the largest up to this point. For over 10 years, they've been true pioneers in the field, working with giants like Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. From manufacturing critical sand components to alloying to even grade conversion, they are capable of end-to-end solutions in the field. And here's an exclusive look at their team, a dedicated army of experts ready to deliver cutting-edge solutions in sand castings, die castings, as well as prototypes. So if you're on the lookout for magnesium castings anywhere in the world, do reach out to Bhagyanagar Magnesium through the link in the description, and we promise you'll be in good hands. And now, back to the show with Martin.
Today we have an international guest, the second one on the Foundry podcast. So, Mr. Martin Tauber, I believe. Am I pronouncing it right?
Hello.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here in India with us.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So, we are essentially at the Pride Hotel, a conference arranged by GDC Tech, right, on magnesium, right? So, that's completely very, very rare. In fact, I believe it's the first conference of its kind held here in India, right?
Yes, the first of its kind to be only dedicated to magnesium.
Correct. And the turnout has been fantastic. You know, I mean, we expected about 80 delegates. There are about 150, right? So clearly magnesium is in demand, right? And you're here to tell us exactly why it's in demand, what's coming, what sort of bright future it has, right? Being magnesium, right? So, I mean, let's just get on with it. So from what I've just heard today, magnesium is quickly replacing a lot of metals, right? I'm not sure whether it's replacing aluminium. I think that would be the main thing.
It's the main. It's not with aluminium. Magnesium has not a rivalry relationship. It's just that we are two industries. Of course, we are different in size, but we are kind of depending on each other. Yes.
Right. So you are essentially the European representative for the IMA.
For the International Magnesium Association.
So if there's anything about magnesium that we want to know, you definitely have the answers for it. Right?
We try, yes, do our best.
Right. So I have a long list of questions here given to me by Mr. Arti Kulkarni, other delegates, which I'm sure you can answer, you're capable of answering, and it will basically put all our doubts to rest, right? So let's just start. So anyway, welcome back, welcome to India. Right? Your first trip. I believe you stayed away from the spicy food, a wise choice, right? That's good. So give us a little bit about your background. Like how did this interest for magnesium develop, and how did you get into not only the casting industry but magnesium?
I think with most of the jobs, I mean, I think there are 5% of people when they are born, they know what they're going to do. The rest is just sliding to in their careers. It was with me as well. I started in polyolefin packaging, and then my second job was in Norsk Hydro, back then the biggest magnesium producer globally.
Okay, so you had an experience in magnesium.
Yes, so I'm working more or less 25 years in the magnesium industry with stops and go.
Okay, so safe to say you know your stuff.
In my area, yeah.
That's good, that's good. So give us some use cases on magnesium castings. Like where exactly are they being used? Why are they coming up right now? Like just an idea of where their applications are.
Yeah, I think magnesium castings, the obvious advantage is the light weighting. So that's what it comes in typical transport applications. Everything which is either moving or getting moved is interesting where to save weight.
Right.
And probably the second advantage where magnesium gained some momentum the last 15 years, 20 years, is in the combination of parts.
Right.
You know, that before you had a lot of parts be welded or somehow other get to each other, and now you have you can cast one part with a lot of integrated functionalities.
Okay, so that's basically where magnesium developed.
That's where it stands now. Now we are challenged with all the bigger casting issues globally, so giga casting, mega casting, and we'll see how magnesium can respond to that.
Right. So why in your opinion did magnesium not develop as quickly as aluminium? Like I just like to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think it was back then in during the first two world wars, I think, or I'm not that old, but there was somehow there was a decision to go to aluminium or to go to magnesium. So if that decision would be different, magnesium would be as big as aluminium.
You truly believe that?
It could be. It could be. But it sounds funny, but it hasn't developed like that.
Right.
I mean, you have especially in war times, like the World War I, World War II, they were triggering magnesium developments. But it was war related, and then the automotive industry adopted that, but certainly not in that pace as it did with aluminium.
So it's basically it could be just chance. It could be just pure chance.
Sometimes we believe so. Yeah.
Right. That's great. So knowing now that magnesium does have a market, right, based on the turnout of this event, right? What are the manufacturing processes being used? Like we know castings is one, but what in your opinion do you know by share or?
If you look at the let's say the metal processing, so you have die casting is certainly the largest segment.
Okay, so die casting is the largest.
Die casting is the largest segment, and then you have sand casting, for instance. You have other well-known technologies from aluminium, from other metals like extrusion, or sheet manufacturing. Now the latest one, if you know, it's around for a long time, but it's getting momentum, is Dixo-molding, so semi-solid casting.
Okay.
So there are several technologies you could use.
Right. But you would still put die casting as number one?
Die casting is certainly in volumes number one, yeah.
Okay, got it. So say if I'm an industrialist right now, I'm looking to capitalize on an opportunity. I see magnesium as maybe this new emerging metal, as aluminium was maybe a couple of decades back. Right. So how exactly do I get a piece of the upswing? Like what manufacturing process am I looking at? Is it too early to get in? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the main story starts with the demand. I mean, magnesium industry was always focused on automotive, because there they have the highest leverage on demand.
Right.
So it's a lot of cars, it's a lot of parts. There's no other industry globally where you have so
The
much
highest amount of consumption, right.
of consumption. So
Correct.
it's demand driven. So
Right.
when an automotive OEM says that they want to do lightweight use, of course there's a chance to go to magnesium. There's
Right.
a chance in the bigger parts now. Let's say the average of magnesium for cars is quite low when you compare to aluminium. So it could be 5 kilo, could be 10 kilo, it depends on the car.
Right.
Aluminium, it's above 200 sometimes.
Right.
So with bigger parts, that could change drastically. So I've seen in China recently a magnesium part with 37 kilogram.
Okay.
So that would change all the value chain completely.
37 kilograms per car
For
is actually a
one
very
part.
high number.
Yes.
Because even if we look at the average car weighing about 1.5 ton, like a normal passenger car, that still puts it at about 2%, 3%.
Yeah, it's this
weight.
in front bigger part or the
Correct.
The back part.
Right.
So and then a car have like 5-6 castings, and then you have the whole chassis.
Correct.
That's a complete other mindset.
Great. So in your opinion, is the market already taken off, or is it a good time to get into the magnesium industry?
For the magnesium industry, I think there's always a good time to get in, because you have so many possibilities.
Right. Right.
So starting the whole value chain from primary production
Right.
to casting to recycling, there's a lot of opportunities globally.
Right.
There's a lot of business cases, but it's a convincing exercise. So you have to convince the players around you
To switch.
and then there's endless possibilities.
Right. I think I would also assume there would be a lot of knowledge convincing, right? Not just sales, but also showing them the applications, the benefit, the physical properties, how it's going to not only lower the weight, but maybe the strength involved. Convince them that, okay, these parts are not just lighter, but they can actually withstand the strengths needed for.
Well, I think in general you could say a magnesium part is at least 15, maybe more % lighter than an aluminium part in any case. And then you can, with design changes and everything, you can go up to 30, 35% or even 40 to make it lighter. But you're right, there are always some kind of sentiment about magnesium, that it is corrosive, that it is expensive, that it has a high carbon footprint, and also some technical points where the engineers are always very skeptical, especially engineers who are asked to change anything in a proven production value chain.
I think that's the thing with engineers. They've been accustomed to what works, right? And you know the saying, "Don't fix it if it ain't broken," right? I mean that holds true. But I think even from the conference, the people who have actually taken a front position for magnesium are the scientists, right? Because they are the ones tinkering around, knowing exactly that what this metal is capable of, and they're the ones who actually slowly bring it to the market. Is that something that you're seeing in the European region as well?
Yeah, I think in India, I think magnesium is out for the long haul.
Okay.
Because you have so many untapped markets, untapped demand with all the transport you have. But beside that, I also said in my presentation that the Indian government should focus not only on the transport applications. So magnesium is offering a lot of possibilities in batteries, in energy, in hydrogen storage, in medical applications. So there's a lot of markets, future markets, where normally a lot of R&D money is spent on, and would like to support that is happening in India as well.
Right. All right. So, you're in Europe, right? You probably travel all around the world, like you're in India right now. So give us an understanding of the US market, right? The European market, and maybe a little bit of Asia, as you would know.
Yeah. So
let's start with the US.
As you said, the demand or the supply, the production is mainly happening in China. So you have China, the powerhouse of the primary magnesium,
right?
And also China is also the biggest user of the material itself.
Is this because they have the raw material there, or is it just
They have the technology. So a
Okay,
technology
got it.
which has an enormous cost advantage.
right?
So the raw material with magnesium is never a problem. You either get it from dolomites or you get it from a salt brine. So there's never an issue about the raw material. There's
Right.
always the major issue is the processing technology and where to get the energy from. So these are the main
Okay.
obstacles for new projects coming on stream.
Right. So
Coming back to the markets, I think magnesium is always a very dynamic market. We could see a decline in Europe at the moment because of all the industrial struggling, because of energy prices, demand from car companies and so on.
right.
US market is a little bit more dynamic. So US are known to help and to support their companies in a very easy way, not that bureaucratic as Europeans used to be.
Right.
So this is the advantage. And in China, it's the speed is enormous.
Okay.
So we have seen, as if you give an example of 7,000 tons, 8,000 tons giga castings machine working for magnesium,
Okay.
which is enormous, which keeps you breathless as a magnesium guy.
Right.
You know what happens in China and in what speed it is happening.
So I would assume much of your travel has to revolve around China.
Yeah, I was happy to be at a conference in November last year.
Right.
With over 2,000 participants only for magnesium.
Right.
So it's been fantastic 3 days. And that's not the powerhouse only in production,
Right.
but also as we see in electrical cars and something. So the forefront of China. So we have to really cooperate with them and
Right.
make it a global
It is a
success.
dependency in some regards as well.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Especially in the raw material part.
okay. So since we're on the subject, where do you think India lacks with respect to the Chinese innovation that has happened? You know, what do you see now, considering probably it might be too nascent to say, considering this is only your first visit here, but just off the bat, like what do you see as
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand the dynamics of the Indian market yet,
Right.
but I see a couple of die casters in magnesium. There's also a sheet rolling facility coming on stream. I see a lot of bicycles. I see a lot of 3-wheelers, 2-wheelers. So the potential for lightweight is endless. I mean,
there is a good market in-house.
You are just starting the electrification process of transport. There is a huge market as well. So I think magnesium will live under the shadow of aluminium for years,
Right.
but it is out for the long haul.
Right. That's an interesting point you just brought up. You said 3-wheelers. In fact, a lot of India actually is transported on 3-wheelers. We call them auto rickshaws.
Yeah.
Right? Did you travel on one?
Now I've seen one.
seen
I'm not sure if I feel safe in one.
You should. They don't have a 5-star safety rating and no airbags, but you should definitely travel on one.
I will too. When it's quiet.
In fact, I want a picture of you traveling in an auto. Right? You're going to send me a selfie before you get back. So that's good. So no, but also China. Like, why do you think the technology developed in China first? Like, was it just good governance? Was it maybe the aluminium boom over there, which transitioned over to magnesium? What was it like?
I mean, you have to distinguish between primary technology and process technology for casting and so on. I think primary technology, they have adopted an old process and used all their cost advantages for that. So this is probably, it's an old process, but it's made to the best what they can do.
Right.
When it comes downstream to the casting process, I think China has learned a lot in a very short time. They have also employed a lot of people from all over to help them.
Like consultants.
Yes.
Right.
So and you see that in other industries like the solar panel industry or something like that.
Right.
So very, very, very quick. I mean, it's government funded as well. We know there are some cost advantages here and there.
Right.
But in general, the output product, like the final car today, is exceptional.
Right. Right. We'll touch a little bit about the recyclability of aluminium, the raw material reserves, right? I think your presentation covered a lot of that to an extent, right? But for viewers who didn't get a chance to see it, I think we can probably grab a couple of your slides and play this while we are talking, right? So you mentioned that Russia had a few, magnesium plants. China has a lot of them. So what are some other places where smelting is actively going on?
There are remaining a few smelters globally. One is in Brazil.
Right.
One is in Israel. That's in for a long time. And the latest one built and put on stream was in Turkey.
Okay.
So there's there was or there's still one in the US, but still at the moment it's on hold.
Okay.
So there are a couple of plants outside. You mentioned the two Russian plants. There are a couple of plants outside China, but China is the powerhouse of primary production.
And I think I also overheard. I think there was a presentation where somebody mentioned that all raw material has to be imported into India, right? All magnesium would have to be imported. So do you think do you have an idea of some smelting plant on the horizon that's coming up in India? Is that something that you heard about?
Yeah, I think so. There are a couple of projects in the pipeline, in India as well, using different technologies, using desalination process, for instance, to get a magnesium out of seawater or of dried water.
Desalination. I think somebody mentioned, right?
Yes, this is one. There's no plant at the moment globally is using only desalination as the source. But there are also projects with pigeon process and so on. So all the variety of technology are considered. Yeah.
Great, that covers that. So what about the recyclability of magnesium? Like, because you mentioned people think it is environmentally polluting, right? So what would you say to those people who say, no, it's not environmentally friendly? Like today's talk of sustainability, like how would you answer that?
I think the pollution thing is not mentioned in regards to recycling. It's mentioned in regards to primary production.
Okay.
The recycling is a separate topic.
Recycling
is as easy as with aluminium. Magnesium can be endless recycled as well. And you have different, as with casting, you have different recycling streams.
Correct.
You have the process recycling, which immediately produces the scrap, or you have the scrap at the end of a certain life period or lifetime, so called end of life scrap. I mentioned that this market is not very much developed for magnesium at the moment, because also it's worth to mention, I think, that aluminium alloying is the biggest single market for magnesium demand as well.
Okay.
So you have a lot of magnesium in aluminium alloys, and they are necessarily then recycled within the aluminium stream.
Got it.
So not available as a raw material for the magnesium industry.
Right. About the sustainability, about maybe smelting plants, how is that changing? Like,
we'll see in the future to when new projects come on stream that they have to have a lower carbon footprint from the start. I mean, that's a necessity to even attract some funding or attract investors. So you can't have a classical plant financed at today. It's impossible. So, and we see that a higher percentage of the production global will actually have a significantly lower carbon footprint in the future.
It could also be that this is such a new stage for magnesium that not a lot of brains and development has gone into working out these processes and making it more efficient. Right? As soon as it becomes a little bigger, I mean, of course, the R&D will take off, and someone will figure out how to make it more sustainable, right?
No, I think we have a significant brains in the magnesium industry as well. Also never enough, of course.
Right.
But I think they all the magnesium projects, at least I know, are coming in with a significantly lower footprint than the average today.
So it is working to the advantage.
Absolutely.
That's right. Okay. Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, you're part of a critical raw material alliance, right? So tell us about that. Like, what metals would you consider critical, and what is that about?
I think in principle, the word critical is always misleading. So we always asked policymakers to recall that strategic materials, because that's more what they are.
Right.
This alliance is a member-based alliance as well, with seated in Brussels. It was born because of the critical raw material initiatives from the European Commission.
Right.
So they are now at the 4th critical raw material list.
Right.
And especially this is kind of a platform to group these metals or these materials each other, and talk to policymakers and educate them about the material. In terms of lightweight, I think magnesium is on there for the 4th edition of the list.
Right.
Also, aluminium is now on the latest edition.
Right.
And they also subgroup them to actually strategic raw materials now. And both aluminium and magnesium are in the focus there as well. So it's also promising policy support and funding support and attention in at least in Europe. I think on all other, there are a lot of lists from different regions, from different countries, where magnesium mostly is part of.
Right.
India is an exception at the moment, but we will try also with this conference to get more attention also on the government level for magnesium.
So give us an example of how maybe this association works with, sort of ensuring that these elements or these metals are, contained or recycled well.
I think one of the major part is to work with the European Commission on the methodology. So how to assess the criticality of the material. So in Europe, it's depending on import and on the economic importance, and also to educate the policymakers. I think that's the most important thing. To educate the policymakers, or the parliament, all the decision makers, to at least that they know a little bit about what they are deciding.
Right. So, you do have a smirk. I'm not sure why, but I'm not going to ask you. All right. Before we say goodbye, I have a few questions that Mr. Artik Kulkarni has given us, right? And I think they're really relevant questions that
that's a surprise. That wasn't not.
This controls the questions that he was not told about, right? So Mr. Artik Kulkarni has asked, what is your impression on the conference?
Very, very good. Very proud to be part of.
Right.
Most of my work is done, so. With the first day, now I can enjoy the networking at the conference as well.
Right.
But we're very good. We're very proud to be partner of and to be the selected partner of the start of the magnesium activities in India.
Yeah. That's great. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. So how would the IMA like to join hands with GDC? Like how can GDC and IMA sort of collaborate, and what do you see as opportunities going after you return back to Europe?
Well, GDC is a well-known platform in India. It's exactly what we looked for.
Right.
So they have all the contacts in especially in aluminium.
Right.
So magnesium is for them a first time as well, and we'll would like to use the aluminium network and to build around that.
Right.
Because the policymakers are the same. The OEMs are possibly also
looking for the similar things, right?
So I think it's a great partnership, and they have a flagship event every year, and I don't know how this event will be next year, the same setup, or it will be another.
I predict it will be substantially bigger.
So
right,
I'm happy that this will develop.
That's great. So that's your annual trip to India, possibly.
I don't know.
Okay. Now there's obviously a technology problem for magnesium in India, right? There aren't a lot of players. As a result, there won't be a lot of consultants. There won't be a lot of employees, right? It's limited. So how can the IMA assist with hand-holding, technology transfers? Is that something like you're actively trying to do?
Yeah, we're trying to educate our members in different levels. We have different committees
Right.
where people can share their experience, but also seek experience from others.
Right.
One good example is safety, because the sentiment with magnesium is that it's exploding, that it's burning,
Correct.
and that's that's sometimes difficult to handle in a cast shop, in a cast house. So this is one of our priorities to every accident is to
contain or manage well,
yeah,
right, or prevented if we can,
yeah,
right. I mean, we should mention that IMA is also you are taking global members, right?
Yes, we're a global association. Yes.
Right. So if you'd like hand holding and maybe to learn a little bit more about what Martin is doing on the global level, I suggest becoming a member, right? They can reach out to you on your LinkedIn. We'll put your email ID or your website in the description, right? Do reach out to Martin if you have an interest in starting magnesium in India, and they will probably handhold you, teach you the technology, probably give you some guidance on a global scale. And
but the association has also a website, so it's International Magnesium Association.
International Magnesium Association.
You can search for that.
Right. So you can search for that. You can get in touch, and you can definitely take advantage of the opportunity, like you said, right? In closing, what do you think? There are some steps that Indian say. Let's just say I'm a foundry man. I make bronze castings, right? Now, say I'm looking to capitalize on this magnesium opportunity, right? How do I get started? Like, is there a lot of capital involved? What would you say the barrier to entry is right now, given the circumstances?
Well, I think the uncertainty of several demand issues. I think if there would be a demand, supply will follow demand. I think so. Either it's from import, or it's from own local production as well. I think what we heard today, and what is still the issue, is that there's a lot of skepticism in the market, especially with engineers, of course. So there's always, I think there will be always an enhanced dialogue necessary. So if somebody is willing to go into a dialogue with somebody to want to push magnesium, that's always a good sign.
Right.
So magnesium has certain advantages, certain disadvantages as well, but it certainly needs a dialogue at every project to succeed.
Right.
And a willingness from both partners to.
Right. I think somebody needs to take a step, go ahead, and probably also maybe the demand does have to pick up a little bit.
But I think the demand it's like a process where you see a good project coming on stream, other will follow. So I think I'm quite sure it will develop.
The chicken and the egg problem.
Yes.
Right. The chicken and the egg problem. All right. So what is the objective of the IMA? Like, you're here representing the IMA from Europe. What is your objective with coming to India? Like, what are you looking for?
We tried this for some time to get the foothold. I think now it's a good time because the market is growing. The demand is there. The objective of the IMA is simple. It provides a global network and market magnesium metal in every possible application. So we are not differentiating on a regional level or on an application level as well. Right. Also, we are not an enemy to aluminium because it's our biggest market, single market for our product as well. Right. They need us, we need them. So it's a fruitful communication sometimes.
Right. I'm pretty sure this video is going to be called Aluminium versus Magnesium.
Just kidding. Should not call Bilal like
Just kidding. Anyway, so Martin, it's been a real pleasure having you.
Very good, thank you.
Where can people find you?
They find me on LinkedIn, I'm sure.
They can find you on LinkedIn. He has a very good LinkedIn profile. I was just checking it out, right? In fact, we did meet, I think, 2 hours earlier, right, on top. Around lunchtime is when we probably met. And I think we arranged this interview rather quickly. I mean, the hotel just quickly set up this interrogation room, is what you were calling it. So that's really good. Thank you so much to Hotel Pride. And thank you, Martin. We'll be seeing you around, and all the best in the future.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.